verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, although a jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of the karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance, avidya. Although one may be accepted as a jnani or one advanced in knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay. So far, we've got some new devotees here. So this is the next to last chapter of the Nectar of Instruction. The previous chapter was talking about the gradations of abodes in this creation, like the material world is called Bhumidham. And then the next one is Maheshdham, where Lord Shiva lives. And then the next one is Vaikuntadam. And the next one is Golokadam. Different levels, you know. So this is described in the Brahma Samhita. Can you remember that verse? Devi Mahesha Harit Dharma Shuteshu Teshu. Devi means this material world, the abode of Devi. That's Lord Shiva's wife, Durga, or Maya. Devi Mahesha. Then Mahesh Dham, that's Shiva's Dham. So that's in between the spiritual world and the material world. Then next one is Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. And then next one is, within the spiritual world, is Golokadam, the abode of Lord Krishna. So that was the last, I'll just explain this bit. That was the last chapter. Now we're doing the different categories of people in this world. So before we go on, we'll let Jai Krishna speak.
So what does a jnani do with his time? Why is he better than a kami? What does he do with his time?
I don't know. He should get a job like everybody else. No, he's there's lots of jnanis in South Yorkshire, I'll tell you. And so, yeah, they've become frustrated. This is what we're going to explain now. I'll just explain the gradations. We talk with a kami. A kami, we're talking about karma. It means he works in this world for sense gratification. He tries to enjoy this world. And we were saying that a real kami, he tries to enjoy it according to Shastra. You know, he'll follow scripture in how to do it, like marriage vows, so many different things. But he's just after his own satisfaction. But he realizes that, at least he realizes that, there's a supreme controller and he should follow his advice. And so he follows Shastra. Most people don't understand that. They call vikamis, and they just try to enjoy the world without any restriction. So then, and they'll just get degraded lower and lower. They're not doing anything auspicious. But a kami, at least he's following Shastra, so he'll not degrade himself. But when he becomes frustrated from trying to enjoy, it's hopeful that he becomes a jnani. He's not supposed to become a jnani, he might become a vikami. But if he's a little bit intelligent, he starts to inquire about the purpose of life. Gyan, knowledge. So it's called a jnani, he's searching for knowledge. And so he follows that process of studying Shastra to try and understand the purpose of life. This is a jnani. Yeah.
So he says he refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment.
Yeah, a real jnani, one who takes it seriously, he realizes that there's no everything he does in this world, it's going to tie him to the world. He doesn't know about devotional service at this point. So he tries to avoid doing the wrong things. He tries to avoid doing anything except developing knowledge so that he could come to the platform of equilibrium, where he's actually he's in trance. That's the next stage. That's a yogi. So he becomes a yogi. So he's just, it's describing the Brahma Samhita again. Pantastakoti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayara Tapi Manaso Manipungavanam. Muni, he's using his intelligence. And it says, yes, he does that over millions of births just to try and achieve perfection in that. And then at the end of that, even if he becomes situated in equilibrium where he can't maintain it. And it talks about the yogi, the next class we'll hear about. He actually, how does Betsy word it? He drills the breathing. He controls the breathing so that he can actually control his mind and be fixed in. He can have a fixed mind, and then he can focus on the goal of life. But it takes so many thousands of years of practice of yoga to perfect that system. They're not possible in this age.
So they basically avoid enjoyment, like material enjoyment, and learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I know a lot of brahmacharis like when I lived in the temple, Maharaj. There's lots of brahmacharis who are like that.
Yeah, but they should be. I don't know what they're studying, but they should be studying, Prabhupada's books, and they usually are. If you're studying Prabhupada's books, they are devotional scriptures. So they're this is devotional gyan. This is real. This is what a real gyan is. It's not mundane gyan, and it's actually knowledge about how to practice devotional service. So that type of jnana is, our devotee is superior. And it's hoped that the jnani will come to the point of understand. If anybody meets a devotee, they can immediately, transfer their activities to bhakti, to devotional life. And then everything's actually very auspicious. It's the express route. But if if we spend millions of births and we don't make much, what's the point, Or we drill the breath for a few thousand years, and then, we can make, we can, you can get mystic cities. We can go in the Don at Sheffield, and we can come up in Rotherham or something like that. I don't know. But you know what I mean? They've got mystic cities where they can travel, and they can control the elements. But it's really meant to control the mind, so they control the elements, so they can live long and have plenty of time to practice devotional service. But in order to do that, they need to meet a devotee who can tell them what all their austerities are actually meant for. You understand?
So I've just remembered something. I read something a bit ago, and I think it said pure devotional service is devotional service devoid of gyan and karma. So this is one of them, and karma is the other one you're talking about, right?
Devotional service devoid of jnana, that's pure devotional service.
Yeah, that's what I just said, yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Kevala bhakti. So we may not, Prabhupada's teaching us how to perform Kevala bhakti. We're not developing, knowledge separate from devotional service. It's all in Prabhupada's books. And our meditation is on the holy name. So we are practically performing pure devotional service, but because our hearts are still materially contaminated, we need, we eventually by the chanting and the practice, the heart will become purified, and then we'll actually become a pure devotee, where, we spontaneously perform devotional service out of devotion and then love. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido, it says in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25, 25. 3:25, 25. He talks about, in the association of devotees, topics about the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very satisfying to the heart and pleasing to the ear. And by cultivating that knowledge, one becomes advanced on the path of devotional service. And thereafter, one becomes freed. There's freed from material concepts, material attachments. Then it says real devotional service begin. So it's not that it's unreal what we're doing, but it's not coming from the heart, is it? Is it that time already? You've got to get up for Mangalati. When we're on the purified platform, it won't be it won't be the same. Okay, we'll carry on. It's nice to see Don back in the game again. He's been on the bench for quite a while. We've heard him, but we've not seen him. Okay. Where do we get to? So we'll change readers. We'll let Don read if he's fit enough.
When a Jnani takes to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to an ordinary Jnani. Such an advanced person is described as Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. How a Jnani takes to devotional service is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, wherein Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante Janavan Mam Prabhatyati Vasudeva Savamiti Sa Mahatma Sudulabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, know me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, but such a Mahatma, great soul, is very rare.
Okay, so let's understand very rare. A devotee is usually humble and thinks, well, it doesn't include me. But actually devotees are very rare. Anybody who takes the devotional service, they're not, ordinary people. We can see so many people. You're doing books, he asks 20, 30, 40 people before one stops. And then after those who stop, a few might take a book. And after those who take a book, one might read it. And after those who read it, one might actually start following it. So it's like that. It's 1 in 10,000, 1 in 20,000 who will actually take up the process. So just mention that. Okay, we'll change readers. We'll let Sita Thakurani Mataji, you want to read? What about Mahatma? Have you got any Mahatmas out there? Put your hand up.
No.
Don't be shy.
After taking to devotional service under the regulatory principles, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position. Of all these devotees, the gopis are recognized as superior because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. Indeed, sometimes Krishna puts them into extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavana for Mathura, the gopis became most dejected and spent the rest of their lives simply crying in separation from Krishna. This means that in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna. There is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. Rather, Vipralamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. Thus, of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional love for Krishna, the gopis are most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotion.
Stop there, Mataji. So it's going through the grades of devotees now. We've gone from the Kami to the Jnani to the Bhakta. And then when we take up devotional service, it's called, you heard of the nectar of devotion. It's actually translated from called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of devotion. Sindhu means ocean, Bhakti means devotion. So it's talking about an ocean of an unlimited ocean of devotion. So when we first take the devotional service, we've just dipped our toe in an ocean. And so then it starts talking about different levels of devotees. And now it's talking about the best devotees. So best devotee. It depends on our level of service and surrender. And the gopis are the ones who surrendered everything just to serve Krishna. So it's like any other relationship, isn't it? The quality of the relationship is how much you're prepared to actually forfeit your own pleasure for the benefit of another. When you do that, then the relationship expands. And then there's a reciprocal relationship and it just keeps growing. And so we're learning how to serve Krishna. And as our service becomes more, first of all, intense, we start to use more of our time for Krishna. And then the quality of that service then starts to increase. That we're not just doing it in a ritualistic way, it becomes in a meditative way. We're actually thinking about the pleasure of Krishna. And so this is a process of devotional service. Its quality, its quantity increases and its quality increases. And so the gopis are actually the most surrendered. And then now it's going to talk about Radharani, who is the best of all the gopis. So we'll let Jai Krishna read.
What are we up to?
Srimati, we've got no one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani.
I'm lost, hang on.
It's the end of the paragraph.
Oh, yeah, indeed. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to understand her transcendental feelings. In this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and her Kund, lake, Sri Radhakund, is the most exalted place. This is verified in a quotation from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Uttarakhand 45, as quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yata Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sava Gopishu Shaivakti Vishnu Atyanto Vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna, Vishnu, so her bathing place, Radhakund, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radhakund and execute devotional service there through one's life. This is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Upadeshamrita.
So spiritual life is not like material life. Everything's connected to Krishna, but they have different usages. And in the spiritual world, Krishna is a person. He has things which he likes more than others. He has. So his special place is Radha Kund, where, it's actually a whole story behind how it was actually formed. But, it's at the head of the Govardhan hill, a huge hill. And on that hill, that's where Krishna performs some of his best pastimes. So, because Srimati Radharani is actually so dear to Krishna, anything in relationship with her is also special. I think the nearest thing in the material world is a mother for a son or a husband for the wife or vice versa. When you see some of their paraphernalia and they may be away, then, it reminds you of that person, right? Or is it just me?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right. So, the same thing, but this... Anyway, I hope that and if there's anything you don't understand in what we've just in that 10th, obviously there's a lot to understand there, but our ability to understand it deeply is not necessarily there. Sita Thakurani.
It's not that I don't understand. Maybe I don't remember. In the verse itself, towards the very end of the translation of the verse, it says that the divine couple Sri Radha Govinda, who performed their Ashtaka Kaliya Lila, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. What is the eightfold daily pastimes? It doesn't explain in the purport.
Have we just read that?
I beg your pardon?
Or is it in the next verse? Where did we read that? Anyway,
so the beginning.
Hey. Anyway, where did you read it from, Mashadi?
Yes.
Have we just read that?
So the beginning of the chapter.
We read it last week.
Okay, because I must have been half asleep. But yeah, Asta means 8. Asta Kaliya Lila. This is, Krishna has certain things that he does at different times of day, like we do. And so, like rising in the morning, taking breakfast, going out with the cowherd boys, herding the cows, taking lunch with them, coming back, meeting his friends, the gopis, then nocturnal relationships. So, when we're advanced, or maybe not so advanced, but, you can actually meditate on these times of the day and remember Krishna in that way. That's one. But our process is not so much. Prabhupada never mentioned that, although he wrote it in his books. All Prabhupada did is, what we are doing. He said, "Do what I do, and everything will be okay. Just do what I do." And he never pushed these things. So many things that different, mats may do, but we do what Prabhupada wants us to do. And so if we feel an inclination to read about these things, and we're generally interested, we can do that, but it shouldn't camouflage what Prabhupada set in motion either. And what was that, whenever you got any spare time, chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Take prasadam, associate with devotees, and if you've got some more time, go out on Sankirtan and preach. And or do things which actually promote Krishna consciousness for the people, for the general public. And so we just follow that, and we follow what Lord Chaitanya told us. He did the same. The only instruction I can remember after the Chaitanya Charitamrita at the moment, he went to Kurma Brahman. He was a Brahmin in South India, in Kurmakshetra, and he invited him to eat prasadam at his house. So Lord Chaitanya, took prasadam. Well, they washed his feet, poured the water on his family's head, fed him nicely, and then Lord Chaitanya was going to leave, and he walked after him. He says, "Take me with you." He says that, I want to become completely absorbed in devotional service. Family life is making that difficult. And Lord Chaitanya said, "Don't be a silly fool." He says, "Stay in and, practice Krishna consciousness, practice, read the books, Srimad Bhagavatam, amongst the family, so they become devotees as well. And if you have any spare time, preach Krishna consciousness to others." So Lord Chaitanya didn't mention about Asakalya Leela either. So we should just follow that line and we'll be fully satisfied. Krishna will take care of the rest. And if we get an urge to read these pastimes, we read Krishna book. And the Asakalya Leelas in Krishna book, all the different pastimes. Meditate on Krishna book. And like that. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll start the 11th. This is the last verse. Krishna yochai, Krishna sochai, Pranayavat sati, Prayab shibhyopi radha, Kundam chasya munibir, Abitas tadrik eva, Vyadyayi, Vadyayi, Yat prestair, Apyalam asulavam, Kimpurna bhakti bhajam. Tad premadam sakrit api sarah snanur avish karoti. Excuse my pronunciation, but I don't know the meter for this one. Okay, who's not read yet? Systematically, you're not read, have you?
Yes, ma'am. Translation. Of many objects of favored delight and of all lovable damsels of Rajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love, and in every respect, the divine Kunda is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radhakunda is very rarely attained even by the great devotees, therefore it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes in once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Purport.
Okay.
Why is
Has anybody bathed in Radhakund?
Yes, Maharaj.
No, Maharaj.
So are we actually, it says, if one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So is everybody who's bathed, are you fully aroused now? So there's something wrong somewhere. And, it depends. It's like, it may take a bit of time, but we've bathed in Radhakund. And that's the point, is it will be fully aroused if it's not now. And also it depends on the mood that you bathe in. If you bathe in a devotional mood as well. I like what the one, I forget this full story, one Acharya, I think it was Ramanujacharya walking with his disciples. And I think I don't know whether he was chewing something, but he took it out of his mouth and he threw it in the lake. And then all of a sudden, two shining beings rose from the lake and went up into the sky. And his disciples, where did they go? He said, they've gone back to Godhead. He says, by taking those remnants. He said, well, we've been taking your remnants for the last so many years. We haven't. Why are we still here? And he said to them, they took them in the right consciousness. So what's the moral of the story? You got to eat like a fish, right? No. Everything's practical in devotional service. But we're all looking for a quick way, Oh, look what it says there. You know what I mean? I know when I was a brahmachari, we did that. Oh, look at that. If you follow that full Akadashi, and we used to follow it, And the Temple president was saying, don't do this, And after a while, we thought he was in Maya at first. But then, we realized that it's not a quick fix. Everything's dependent on how much do we actually want to serve Krishna at the end of the day. And everything we're doing is meant to develop that consciousness. We actually become attached to serving Krishna. And that takes, we've got to show Krishna that our sincerity by our service and our service attitude. And it's the same in anything, isn't it? If you've actually got the proper service attitude in any job, the employers will appreciate that and they'll actually help you. They'll promote you if you're able to, So it's the same with Krishna as a person. And all we have to do is, monitor our consciousness, not the externals that we do, just monitor where's our consciousness at? Am I pleasing myself or am I pleasing Krishna? It's still like that. And the dichotomy of it is that, when we actually come to that platform, we'll think we're not serving Krishna. We'll think everybody else is serving Krishna. This is Krishna protecting our consciousness. We never think that we're serving Krishna in the way that everybody else sees we may be serving Krishna. We'll be... A devotee always thinks he can do more. And he realizes how much Krishna's doing for him also. And he feels humbled by it. So we'll never feel that, yes, now I'm pure. As soon as we think like that, it means that maybe we're not so pure, Okay, so we've got 20 minutes left. So we can start to read. Who's not read? We'll let Tisha read another paragraph, and then we'll let Jack read. I think that's everybody's read then. Oh, Lucas. So maybe Lucas can read the purport.
Sure. Could you just remind me the page? I never found it.
It's the 10th, it's the 11th chapter, and you turn the page until you come to the purport. It says, why is Radhakund so exalted? You got it? Okay. Maybe Jack can read while Lucas finds their page. Catches up.
Thank you.
Okay. Why is Radhakund so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Sri Krishna. Among all the gopis, she is most beloved. Similarly, her lake, Sri Radhakund, is also described by great sages as the lake that is dear to Krishna as Radha herself. Indeed, Krishna's love for Radhakund and for Srimati Radharani is the same in all respects. Radhakund is very rarely attained even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service, what to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. It is stated that a devotee
One question.
will at once...
Why is it? It's similar to what one before, actually. If it's rarely obtained, why is it that, Vaidhi Bhaktas like ourselves, following rules and regulations, get the opportunity to bathe there?
By the mercy of acharyas, spiritual masters.
Yeah, it's a mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada, and previous acharyas. Anyway, that's, we're following. Everything depends on the mercy of. You make progress in anything by who you follow, right? If you want to learn a particular skill or science, you follow a master in that science, and you can become as good as him. It depends on how good the master is, right? You can only learn what he teaches you. So, we're following Prabhupada, and he's expertly guiding us in every step of our journey through his books. And so he's introducing us to Radhakund and giving us a chance to actually bathe there. That's his mercy, like Maipur Chandradaya was saying. Of course, when Prabhupada first did that, his early disciples, they started frolicking in Radhakund. And when word got back to Prabhupada, he said, stop immediately. He stopped them from bathing. Because they weren't they weren't respectful. Okay, so we'll carry on, Jack.
It is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the devotee of the gopis. If he once takes a bath in Radhakund, Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the banks of Radhakund, he should at least take a bath in the lake many times as possible. This is the most important item in the execution of devotional service. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in this connection that Sri Radhakund is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the lady friends, Sakhis, and confidential serving maids, Mancharis, of Srimati Radharani. Living entities who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, the Loka Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies, should live at Radhakund. Take shelter of the confidential serving maids of Sri Radha, and under their direction engage constantly in her service. This is the most exalted method for those engaged in devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radhakund to take their baths. What then to speak of ordinary devotees? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radhakund and bathe even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna, exactly as the gopis did.
Thank you, Jack Burrow. So it puts even more light on our good fortune, doesn't it? Have you caught up to us, Lucas?
No, I still can't find it.
It's text 11. That's the last text. Have you got the nectar of instruction?
I thought we were reading the Bhagavad Gita.
No, this is a nectar of instruction. Okay, so I'll read it next time. Maybe when you come to the temple, we can let you have a nectar of instruction.
You just get off database online.
Yeah, you can get it online as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll read from now on, it lasts 10 minutes. It is also recommended that one should live on the banks of Radhakund and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. One should bathe there regularly and give up all material conceptions, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, what does it mean, take shelter of Srimati Radharani and the gopis?
Take shelter of Parampara.
In that, we're reading Krishna book, we're seeing what we're hearing about their pastimes. And so we can always remember that. But when we remember anything in spiritual life, it's as good as it being there. If we're actually remembering with full attention, there's no difference. There's no difference between remembering and the person. So when remembering the gopis and Sri Radha, then, they're there. When we worship the deity, if we worship the deity with awe and reverence, proper meditation, then the deity becomes real. To us, it won't become real to everybody. It's dependent on us. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Radha, Sri Radha, in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radhakund. The conclusion is that to live on the banks of Radhakund and to bathe there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. It is a difficult position to attain even for great sages and devotees like Narad. Thus, there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radhakund. By serving Radhakund, one can get an opportunity to become an assistant of Srimati Radharani and enter under the eternal guidance of the gopis. So we can't externally, artificially do that. We shouldn't all try and go on living at Radhakund. We'd probably last about 5 minutes, We should, follow what Prabhupada says. And then it mentions in the Nectar of Devotion that, as the heart becomes purified, our natural inclination to serve Krishna will start to awaken, and it'll be in a certain mood. But a devotee doesn't start exhibiting that, he actually starts to cultivate that, but externally he just carries on with his service or her service. So it's an internal thing. We said this the other day, I think. Is that right? But we should actually understand this properly, because if we see anybody exhibiting ecstatic symptoms a little, we should be a little bit cautious. They may not be what they appear to be. Probably not. Prabhupada, he wasn't exhibiting ecstatic symptoms, only on very rare occasion. Any questions? And if we, don't go to Radha to take shelter of any of the devotees who live there either, because Prabhupada said a lot of them, they're actually they're not bona fide. They're, a lot of them they've got so many, consorts or girlfriends. They smoke biddies when nobody's looking, So you may get cheated, or you probably will get cheated. We don't know what we're looking for. So we're safe in ISKCON. We're safe following Prabhupada. We're safe in the association of devotees. Don't disturb your mind. When we read these things, understand them properly. And in the early days of devotional service, we won't be able to do that without association of somebody more experienced. And so that's the way forward. Prabhupada's given us everything in his books and in his practical demonstrations of devotional service. And so just do that. Did Chai Mayapur Chandraya, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just what crossed my mind was that first time we visited India, we we had baths in Radhakund, and later when I was reading about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he never actually wanted to touch with his feet the Radhakund, considering himself too fallen. Then I was asking myself my own position, and now just thinking about how much is actually important to base in the Radhakund physically, because you said that it's enough to do it in the mind, right? So it's probably not important to take bath physically.
Well, Prabhupada recommended it in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So it is bona fide, and it's mentioned in that purport that one should bathe as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if we're going to frolic and we're not going to give it proper respect, then we shouldn't. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So it's up to the individual and maybe even his spiritual master or her spiritual master's instruction in that respect. But Prabhupada were intimating by his actions that, yeah, it's okay, but when they were abusing it, no, it's not okay.
Uh-huh.
So if we're going to bathe, then, you bathe in proper respect. You pay your obeisances. You touch some water to your head first. And you just go in, take 3 dunks and come out, pay obeisances again. We part of the mood is that we're unqualified and we need the mercy. That's what we're going in there for.
Yeah. As you mentioned, those Radhakund pandas are more and more aggressive year by year, at least in my impression. Because last time we went there, we gave them some donations, and then they demanded more, and they just cursed us. They said like, no donation, no Radharani Kripa.
Yeah, well,
Also, Maharaj, can I ask one thing? Um, is it better to have the permission and the blessings of the spiritual master before going to bath in the Radhakund, in Radhakund?
Yeah, we usually ask, if we're in doubt. The instruction's given, and so if we haven't got a spiritual master, or we actually
Yeah.
can ask senior devotees, or we can, at least if we want to bathe, then just make sure that we're respectful. We've been given the opportunity to go there. You know what I mean? They think, I'm going to Radhakund. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Not many people know about Radhakund. And, we're the ones who've been fortunate to meet Prabhupada, so we know about Radhakund. And we've been given, because we're practicing devotional service, we've been given the opportunity to go and worship Radhakund and even bathe in Radhakund. So we should take it as, we should feel grateful. But, we don't. We should feel grateful, that's the thing. We need as much mercy as we can get. It's a movement of mercy. There's mercy everywhere we turn. There's mercy. It's just that we don't necessarily always see like that. Why? Because of the state of the mind. The mind still being affected by material consciousness, desires, and sometimes mercy is contrary, or it appears contrary to what we want or what we think. That's why it's so important to take shelter of somebody who's more advanced, because then they can see that and say, you know what I mean, and help.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, so thank you for joining. And we'll, I think, Jai Krishna's got a question.
Well, we read next week.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We can read Madhurya Kadambini.
Ah, that's nice.
Can you get it on database?
Yeah.
That's nice.
If you can go online database, it's there, yeah.
I can share it on the group.
Yes, we can share it. But Madhurya Kadambini, is a sweet cloud bank of nectar. Cloud bank of nectar. He's talking about, the whole process of devotional service. But he gives more detail. It's a nice read. It goes into some parts of it. They get a little bit philosophical, but we'll get something out of it. Okay.
Fabulous.
Who's read Madhurya Kadambini?
I didn't understand the name. The name of
Just some of the pages, but as I told you, I didn't really want to read it alone, so I put it down.
What was that? You don't want to?
I didn't want to read it by myself, so I just put it down, and I think I mentioned it to you.
Yeah, you can read it by yourself. I mean, there's nothing to stop
Okay.
you. But
Yeah.
when we read it together, we may actually churn it a little bit more. Understand it better.
Maharaj, I cannot find it in the database. Where is it available?
Let me have a look.
I can send the PDF. I don't know if I can put it on Zoom. I'll check.
I see. Okay, maybe you can. Yeah.
I'll check.
Thank you.
Database. Okay, so I'll. Have you got online database? Is it?
Yeah, I'm checking online. In library, I see only Prabhupada's books somehow.
Let's have a look. I thought they were on there anyway. Maybe I were wrong. No, it's not there.
Maybe if Mataji can share PDF with everyone, we can read like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, share which one is it? There's a few. Is it by Dinabandhu?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Yeah, he's the original author, but who's commented, who's translated? It's
It is
Dinabandhu.
old. Yeah, I think it's Dinabandhu Prabhu.
Oh, okay, that's good. He's a ISKCON devotee.
All right. I'm just trying.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Have a good day.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Srila
Thank you,
Prabhupada
Maharaj.
ki
Thank you,
jai.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Bo.